Yo, coming to you live from World Championship in San Jose. Welcome to the Living Legends podcast.
They have to be careful though. We should save this for the
we
podcast.
Absolutely should.
Because I think Crown of Providence is a really good example of how maybe not to do it. Because I feel that Crown of Providence was initially an answer to Arcanite Skullcap because everyone was running Skullcap. And then they printed Crown of Providence and everyone was like, oh, this might just be a better Skullcap. So everyone run this instead of Skullcap. And so now you don't really see a lot of people running Skullcap. Skullcap itself now has a much lower price. So we want to avoid the situation where they reprint another Tunic-like card, but it's just better than Tunic or perceived as better than Tunic. And then you have a new $300 card instead of Tunic. Yeah.
But yeah, we should definitely start this up. We got some good discussions going on.
Yes. Who did we want to actually do the intro?
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Living Legends podcast.
Okay, Bill's doing it then.
Your one-stop shop for everything flesh and blood related. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. I am technically the host for today. As always, though, this one's going to be a little bit more freeform, and it's not because we don't have anything to talk about. It's actually because we have a lot to talk about. I will go into why after introducing my lovely co-hosts. Alphabetically, we will start with Az.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm Az from Goarin Gaming. Looking forward to this one because obviously it's a 1-year anniversary today. Or there or thereabouts, right, Kel, I think. So yeah, it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I think it's more or less exactly the 1-year anniversary. It's episode 49. We did miss a couple episodes here or there because of Worlds and some other stuff, but yeah. And by the way, hi, I'm Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about all the stuff today. It's an anniversary special, our first year anniversary special. I imagine we'll talk about a little bit about the podcast. We have a lot of community questions to get into, and also I'm going to be giving away one of these Good Deeds Don't Go Unnoticed promos, so stick around for that. I actually haven't decided what I'm going to do, so you're going to have to watch or listen to the whole podcast, because I'm gonna randomly be like, oh, comment something. Oh, and then also, for the audio listeners, the entry will be on the YouTube video. So even if you listen to the audio version, make sure to hop into the YouTube comments, type in whatever I have you type in so you can enter to win this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, easy way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll just have to figure it out live.
Yeah, I'm gonna have someone say something down below. You know the whole YouTube thing. It's easier that way because I just use a program that randomly selects comments from a video. So that's easy.
Yeah, that usually ends up being the easiest way to do it. But yeah, as mentioned, this is as mentioned actually. This is our 1-year anniversary, so it is now, I guess, officially a year of us doing the Living Legends podcast, and it's just kind of crazy how far it's come and how people seem to like the content that we do. So sincere thanks to everybody that's either stuck with us, or if you're new and just checking us out, that's fantastic too. We love having more people as part of the community. And speaking of our community, figured that this was probably a pretty good time to just open up the mailbag and do another question and answer. That's kind of how we kicked it off. Might as well do another one for the 1 year. Before we get into it too crazy, did we want to go over our weeks in Flesh and Blood? I can start us off if we wanted to do that collectively.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
So yesterday, as of filming this today, yesterday we filmed 2 more full gauntlets for our YouTube channel. And they both went really well. There was only one game that at least I played that was admittedly kind of a non-game. I won't give any more detail past that because I think you should definitely watch it live when it gets released. It won't be for a little while yet, but
Did you get pummeled again?
I no comment.
Oh, Lord. Can't wait to see.
But yeah, so really excited that we were able to do that. I was playing the challenge. I was playing the decks that were against the challenger. I was playing the gauntlet of the decks. And it was just a really good time, and really excited to roll those ones out, because we're really trying to make a push for having more consistent releases. I mean, we've been doing that so far, but this kind of pushes us into backlog territory, which is kind of where everybody wants to be. So really excited about that. And then reverse alphabetical order. Kel, how was your week in Flesh and Blood?
Haven't done much, honestly, in terms of like playing Flesh and Blood, just more content. Made a video talking about, we can get into some Living Legend stuff, I suppose. A couple little humble brags. Talking about how Legend Story Studios, either with our feedback or through a giant coincidence, put a lore tab onto the official Flesh and Blood website. And not only that, but they added afterwards a stories tab that now has all of the story articles in a row. Like, literally what we talked about in the last episode, how I wanted that. Now it exists. So I made a video talking about that and going over it and kind of just talking about the lore in general. And then also checking out some of the new stuff today. This is I guess we can cover this right now real quick here, since we're going to really have this as a topic today, and will probably be old news by the time the next episode comes out. There's been some new spoilery type stuff from Dusk Till Dawn, new artwork with the silver-haired illusionist. That's going to be one of the skirmish playmats. It looks gorgeous, as well as a new Shiana specialization, which is kind of weird and gross. It's really interesting. It's a 2-cost, 2-attack, 2-block. It's got all 2s, which I really love the theming of that. Shiana specialization, and essentially, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but when you attack with this, you get to look at your opponent's hand and then pick one of their attacks that's in their hand, and then this attack becomes that attack. So if you're attacking a Guardian, for example, and they have Pulverize in their hand, then this can become a 2-cost Pulverize. And then it also has a secondary effect where if you block with this card and another card, it has this effect called like Unity or something like that. And then if you do that, you get what was it called? It was like some sort of token that we have no idea what it's called. Like a
Eloquence token.
Eloquence. I was gonna say Fancy Pants. You get a Fancy Pants token. But we actually don't know what the Eloquence token is yet. So, that's what I've been doing. Just keeping up with Flesh and Blood news and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of it coming out soon. That's for sure. Dusk Till Dawn's right around the corner. My week in Flesh and Blood was quite interesting because I did a shoey at the weekend, because basically I was out as my birthday weekend. So thanks for everybody who reached out on Twitter and said happy birthday and stuff. It was a fun time. But while I was out, I was just I think Alex Norval commented on my original post of me just like posing in my sunglasses with an Asahi beer at 8:30 a.m. and he was like, "Let's go, have a fun time or something." And I was just like, "Alex, I'll do a shoey and post it on Twitter if you give me a preview card." And he was just like, "Deal." And I was just like, "Oh, well, okay then." So I don't know whether that. Of course, I imagine I probably will be getting a card now, which is nice.
You were probably gonna get one anyway. I think this was
So I kind of just shot myself in the foot.
Get you a free shoey, yeah.
I mean,
exactly,
You shoeyed yourself in the foot. Shoeyed yourself in the face.
Oh, that was brilliant. But yeah, the video's on Twitter under that post, so you can go and have a look at that absolute monstrosity. And the funny thing was as well, I was wearing white fabric Toms.
Yeah, they're just like flats, dude.
Just flats, and it stained the whole shoe essentially because it was Kraken, rum, and Coke.
Jeez.
Oh, that's one of my favorites, dude. Kraken's legit.
Yeah.
That's like 80 proof. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's nice stuff. It's easily drinkable, but yeah, it stained the whole shoe. But luckily, with a bit of bicarb soda and bleach and stain remover and stuff, the shoes are now white as anything again.
Oh, it's hilarious.
But yeah, it was a fun time. And apart from that, really, my week has been launching a new GoAgainGaming.com website,
nice.
Which has a few cool things on it. I've done away with the link tree and then just made a website instead, essentially. So Linktree is like a cool little thing where you can put all your links in one place. But I decided to do a website which combines it with a bit of commerce as well for other things that I might be doing. But yeah, it looks really, really cool. So that's quite nice. So go and check that out, GoAgainGaming.com.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, apart from that, just also, as you say, Kel, revisiting the lore section, which is now nested into a drop-down box. I actually did a video today about metrics. It's probably not going to be a hot topic, but there was a cool thing on there. As a result of revisiting the lore, you can see all these little things, and one of them was the branches of study that metrics has. They have biomancy, they have alchemy, and obviously mechanology. And I thought that could be a cool thing for them to explore if and when we go to metrics. And I've made loads of different points about that. But
100% necromancer confirmed. Biomancy.
100% biomancer confirmed. Yeah.
I mean, like, that does. Anytime they do something like this, you got to think. You're like, okay, we already have the mechanologist. We already know alchemist is going to be a thing at some point, very likely. And so, like, that seems like slam dunks for the metric set. And you're like, okay, what could be biomancer? And I'm like, necromancer. Necromancers deal with like biology. That's their whole thing, life and death. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't it be cool to have like some sort of mechanical necromancer, like some sort of like steampunk
Frankenstein style
necromancer kind of thing? Yeah, and they have like Frankenstein style monsters instead of like the traditional zombies. Dude, it could be sick.
That's what I mean. If you look at things like data doll and like cognition nodes and stuff, there are like human android beings like piped into a machine almost.
Yeah.
So it could be something that is alluding to biomancy. But yeah. So yeah, just exploring the lore, and there's so much of it, and it's all easy to find now, which is great. So thanks LSS for implementing that after obviously listening to this podcast.
Speaking of which, before we get into the Q&A, I did want to give ourselves a nice little pat on the back a little bit. Since we are at the 1 year anniversary, I do believe we are one of, if not the most listened to Flesh and Blood podcasts currently. We have grown from basically nothing to being one of the most popular Flesh and Blood podcasts. So I just want to say, cheers. I do have a drink here. Cheers, gentlemen. And thank you to everyone who watches and listens to all the episodes. It's Flesh and Blood is traditionally a game where the type of content that does well is like the big meta content, what the meta shifts are. We just had Oldham Hit Living Legend, not to date the episode, but I guess we already did with talking about Dust Till Dawn. And like the content that's going to do well right now is people talking about Oldham Hitting Living Legend and what the meta is going to be and all that kind of stuff. And we're here just talking about what we love about the game. And like all aspects. Sometimes we do talk about that kind of stuff, but we talk about all aspects. And another little point of, I don't know if it's a point of pride, but I really like that we have been able to get a whole bunch of people from Legend Story Studios here onto the podcast to talk about, once again, all aspects of the game, not just, specific things. Like, a lot of people would try to get James White, and we'd love to get James White here on the podcast at some point, but
eventually,
just to recap who we've had on so far, we've had Alan Hale from Organized Play. We've had Joshua Scott, the Rules and Policy Manager. We've had Chris Bewley, the former Content Manager. And we're going to have a lot more. We've had Ian on, who has...
Brian as well.
Yep. And then Brian Gottlieb twice to talk about design. Brian Gottlieb has already agreed to be on again. So that's going to be like a recurring thing, I think, and I hope. And but anyway, that's a long way of saying just like thank you. And we hope to be able to provide more excellent content that, provide entertaining stuff and hopefully a little bit of informative stuff for the entire Flesh and Blood community. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's all easy listening as well, isn't it? It's it's not chatting about hyper brain burn stuff. Sometimes we can go into it a little bit, but it's all about easy listening and just getting through the day listening to some Flesh and Blood content, which is about what I said, all aspects of the game rather than just the hyper competitive aspect of it all, which is great, and I enjoy it every week as well. Coming to chat about it.
If this is your first episode of the Living Legends podcast, first of all, welcome. But second of all, I think the Q&A that we're about to get into says a lot about the tone of the Living Legends as a whole. We have some serious topics and we have some very not serious topics, which
I'm
is
looking forward to both equally.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
And also, before we go into it as well, for the listeners out there and the viewers, etc., I have made a Living Legends podcast email. So if you do want to email us with questions, then by all means try that out. It's just an experiment to see if it's easier for anybody to email us for questions or topics. But it's the Living Legends podcast, all one word, at gmail.com. So if you want to fire questions at us wherever you might be out there, then by all means do that.
I will have a link in the video description as well as on the podcast description, so you can just copy paste that.
Yeah, so I thought it was a nice time to maybe experiment with extra things where people can engage and give us things to say every week. So Living Legends podcast at gmail.com, starting from today in the second year of the podcast. So we'll see how that goes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as sort of mentioned and alluded to, we have a list of questions that we have sourced from our community, yourselves, the viewers. And some of these, like Kel had just mentioned, are pretty interesting and are going to have some pretty decent discussion behind them. Some of them are memes throwing back to just the last year of some things that have popped up. But yeah, without further ado, let's see what sort of stuff we got here. So the first one is actually in the camp of a very interesting one that I think most of us will have some amount of viewpoint on. I don't know if it'll all align exactly correctly, or not correctly, but similarly. But yeah, the question is, because FAB is a game that has a high skill and competitively low luck, it can feel very punishing playing with budget decks into full power ones. What do you think the design team could do in the future to help budget players? So something that I was kind of thinking about just before we hit record is, unfortunately, at the end of the day, Flesh and Blood is a trading card game, and I know that sounds like a really shitty way to go about this, but there are games that, just from a money standpoint, do actually lower the ceiling down to the lowest it could possibly be, which is a living card game, like Netrunner and some other ones.
Living card games can be expensive, though. It's a weird thing.
I suppose
a lot of them don't live long enough. Ironically, given the name, most of them don't live long enough to actually see this. But living card games, some of them, the ones that have had longer lives, like Netrunner, you have Arkham Horror, you have Legend of the Five Rings, which did die, but you run into the situation where you have to buy all of the packs, and no one sells singles for them because there's no point. So, like, if you're a new player, like 5 years into an LCG, and you want all the cards, it's going to be super, super expensive. Almost as expensive or more expensive as a TCG. So at that point, like, the cost isn't really worth it, and then you don't have a singles market, so your resale value sucks. Whereas at least in a trading card game, a lot of the times, if you ended up investing in that, $200 tunic, you can usually sell that $200 tunic to get your money back. Sometimes even more if the card has gone up in price.
Which it definitely has in the last little while.
We can talk about that.
Which is, not something that I personally align with. I don't think that that's where the cards should be. I do think that with trading card games as a whole, there will always be some amount of secondary market based on supply and demand. Because, the good cards, people want them, and there are only so many of them. So it's like, well, I got to sell this card because people, I'm not going to use it. Other people want it. If it's a really popular card that people are seeing a lot of success with, naturally the price will go up. I do think that right now, full, complete transparency, I do think that the most expensive cards in the game, Crown of Providence, Spring Tunic, Command and Conquer, I think those are all vastly overpriced. I think that they should do something to lower that delta. I'm not saying that people have to spend $300 on one single tunic to make their deck work, but I do think something that can be done is exploring, and I think I've said this before, exploring class or even hero or strategy specific rare equipment in sets. having good alternatives to something like Spring Tunic that works for a very specific strategy, so that it kind of lowers the overall want for the card. Like, not necessarily that it's not good enough, but it's good in this specific situation. I think that we've seen that a little bit already, but I think that's something they could definitely do more of to maybe make it less noticeable if you don't have a tunic, for example. Something that maybe doesn't even add a resource like Tunic does, but does something separate for your strategy that works really well. Something like Courage of Bladehold, even.
Where like cost reduction for your class thing, essentially.
Cost reduction for the thing that you want to do, like Redback Shroud as well, is sort of something that is adjacent to the idea that I'm sort of thinking of. Although as a legendary, it kind of flies in the face of that.
Well,
with that being said, the Outsiders ones are a lot less expensive because of how Outsiders as a whole is.
I want to talk about one thing. So all of the expensive cards right now are cards printed under Flesh and Blood's first design philosophy, if you want to call it FAB 1.0. And we have not seen these cards reprinted in the FAB 2.0 model, which does have higher frequency of legendaries. And every FAB 2.0 set, all the legendaries are pretty affordable for the most part. I think if we take a look at which are the sets, by the way, are Dynasty and Outsiders. Those are the two FAB 2.0 sets. Was Uprising also FAB 2.0? Uprising might have also been FAB 2.0 as well.
I think it was starting with Dynasty. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was like after Uprising.
I felt that too, but no, I think it was actually starting with Uprising, because that's the set that had only first. There was no unlimited. It was just the one printing.
Yeah, you could get rainbow foil and cold foil equipment in the same box in the same edition.
But we do have the Crown of Providence from that set. That's still quite expensive. But I think that is a good step in the right direction, because we do have a lot of legendaries now that are quite affordable, that are in like the $20 range. Which is a little bit of a positive and a negative, right? If you open up your one legendary in your case and it's a $15 card, that feels pretty bad, right? On the flip side, if you're buying singles, that's pretty good. So it's a little bit of give and take here. I've talked about it in other things. I actually think the price spread on value of Flesh and Blood cards should be spread across more cards, rather than having one card that's like $200. I think like Majestics, for example, should be worth a little bit more, or valued a little bit more. So you don't have a bunch of like 25-cent Majestics and then like a $300 tunic or whatever. With that said, I agree with Bill. I think strict reprints of these cards doesn't make them less desirable. People still will want them, and they'll still be very expensive unless they reprint them to oblivion, which they will not. James White and Flesh and Blood they've already kind of like been pretty upfront about them wanting to be. They'll reprint the cards, but they're not going to reprint Tunic at Majestic. It was what I'm saying. Like, if they reprint it, it's going to be kind of the same thing, right? So to that end, I agree with Bill, and I think that good alternatives is likely the best solution. And then good class-based alternatives specifically, so you don't run into a generic situation like Arcanite Skullcap and Crown of Providence, where everyone just runs Crown of Providence instead of Arcanite Skullcap now. And Skullcap is like more of a budget option, which it used to not be. It used to be the tunic, right? Skullcap used to be the tunic of the hat tunic. And now we have a new hat tunic, and then everyone runs that instead. So we need viable class-based alternatives that are kind of like Redback Shroud, but maybe better than Redback Shroud. I love Redback Shroud, but at the end of the day, like, do I want to run Redback Shroud over Tunic in my Uzuri deck? No, I don't. I'll run it in my Arachne Solitary Confinement deck, but not in most of my Assassin decks. So, it feels like they see this, because we are starting to see alternatives, right? Like Flameskull Furnace, Redback Shroud, but yeah.
Well, one more thing as well I want to go into on that point is obviously they're alluding to playing budget decks into full power ones. What do you think the design team could do in the future I also don't think that is a design team thing. I think that's more of a you thing. I think it's more of a how do you want to experience playing the game? Because if you're running budget decks into a RTN event or an armory event, even people are going to be running highly competitive tuned decks even at those events. So if that's the case, if you're a budget player, and you're just experiencing the game for the fun of it potentially, you do have to maybe look at how you're experiencing it and playing it in the local area, because there are things now that LSS are implementing, like the casual armory kit sort of situation, where you can still go along to your game store and play UPF, Commoner, Shapeshifter Sealed, or Blitz pre-constructed. So maybe that's the event you should be choosing to go to, because everyone's on the same sort of wavelength. Pre-release and sealed and all that sort of stuff could be a better thing to try and experience it. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not willing to spend the money, you are going to get creamed at armories again and again and again, because it's going to be people that are willing to spend money. So it's more of a try and discover where your best sort of place is to play it, essentially, which can be hard as well.
And I will say this, I don't think Flesh and Blood will ever be a cheap game. It's currently one of the most, if not the most expensive trading card games competitively on the market. And even if they address a lot of these concerns, I still don't think it'll be a cheap game, right? I imagine Flesh and Blood will always be around the Magic the Gathering space, like in terms of competitive price for decks. I think it's just because of, one, the game is highly competitive, and the pricing is high enough that competitive staples garner a high price because of their playability. And then also that Flesh and Blood and Legend Story Studios are committed to having a certain degree of rarity on their cards. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it's just their philosophy. They want their cards to be desirable. I do like their new pull rates for legendaries. It seems that the pull rates for legendaries are a lot higher now, which is great. And I hope to see it more in the future. And hopefully in Dusk Till Dawn we don't have any weird print mistakes like Outsiders that make it a little less of a feel bad for folks. Even if it didn't technically affect them, it still feels bad.
You don't hit a 20 legendary box. I think one of the things as well that's driving Flesh and Blood's price is just the fact that it's becoming more popular, and people are looking to buy into it, and sometimes they're just like, the cards just don't exist to buy.
Yeah.
So whenever a card does come up to buy, you're like, well, I need this card for my deck, so I'm just going to buy it. Doesn't matter what the price is. And sometimes, especially when you get into more expensive cards, that factor can really be magnified as cards become rarer. Like Kella said, I think that something that they're doing currently is making pull rates for cards a little bit better, and they are trying to spread value onto Majestics more.
Yeah.
It used to be that you would get like pretty much consistently 10 or 12 Majestics in a box. Now you get like 5.
Yeah, 5 to 6, maybe 7 if you're lucky and get 2 foils or something like that.
Yeah, so you're getting fewer Majestics per box, which actually means, like, if you look at cards from Outsiders, the Majestics, I don't think there's a single one that's less than $1. I think they are all at least $2 plus, which, you look at even old sets like Arcane Rising, you look at Arcanite Ascendancy, that is a solidly 30-cent Majestic.
Yeah, it's like quarter.
That is like the worst possible thing to pull, but all of the cards from Outsiders, all of the Majestics at least, are worth at least something.
And you can even like pull some nice Majestics too. You can get like a Codex of Frailty or a Premeditation, and those are worth like what, $20-$30 or something like that, maybe even more.
Yeah. Codex of Frailty I think is like $50 right now.
And it's worth more than most of the legendaries in the set, if not all of the legendaries.
I think it is the most expensive non-extended art card in the set.
Yeah. Which, I mean, $50
cool.
is $50 for a 3 of staple is also kind of expensive, but the fact that it's like not super hard to pull, it's good for like box value, but it's also good for, hopefully, I'd like to see it lower, but hopefully these Majestic prices encourage stores to sell singles, because I think that will also help lower the price overall. If a lot of stores are opening product and then selling singles, the competition drives prices down. And previously, a lot of stores for the reasons that Bill mentioned, didn't see the point if they're opening up a box and they're like, okay, I'm gonna open up this Arcane Rising box. I have a chance to open like an E-Strike or an Art of War and hit big, or I could just open the 2 Majestics that I open could be Arc Knight Ascendancy and High Octane or something, which are worth collectively like $10.
Yeah, the variance was pretty rough on not high rolling. So yeah, the Majestics actually being worth something might do some amount to just increase the availability and potentially lower the price of stuff. So I do hope that they try to do that to make budget players more welcomed in general, because I do think even at its lowest level, Flesh and Blood is still like a pretty powerful game, which I think is really cool. Like there are a lot of commons that are just objectively very good in this game compared to Magic the Gathering. Commoner is a real Flesh and Blood experience. It's not like you're playing limited. Yeah. It's not like you're playing whatever. Like you are still playing a deck that does powerful stuff, and that feels great. So I'm hoping that they can start to lower that delta between budget playing and high power playing. There will always be expensive high power playing in a trading card game. That's kind of just an unfortunate reality of it. But the more popular it becomes and the more lucrative tournaments become as well, that also drives the singles market as just because if you're going to a tournament where you can win $25,000 and you want to make sure that your deck is good, spending the $50 a card on Codex of Frailty doesn't seem like that bad of a value proposition.
So a lot of the pros is more like spending the $400 on that Eye of Ophidia for your Kano deck feels right, which is also another conversation. I don't know, but some of the cards are too expensive. All right, I
definitely think that some cards are too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I love Flesh and Blood. It's my favorite game by far. I think about it all the time, but let's get real. The $300 tunic, several $100 eye, that's a little much. Yeah, even for like a super competitive game, for like a single card, it's a little much.
Yeah.
But to cap off this question that we've spent at least 10 minutes on, they are definitely making steps in the right direction to cater to people that want to play it more casually and more budget friendly. So expect more. And obviously, growing pains of Flesh and Blood, they're growing exponentially quickly. So obviously that's going to be one of the things as well that is driving the price. And as well as that, it's an eternal format, so there's always going to be cards that come out which could replace and dictate what you put in your deck. As well. So
I want to one last thing I want to say on this, which is what Az basically said, but adding on to it, adding more fun, non-competitive formats that are desirable would go a long way to this, so people don't feel obligated to play the competitive formats and have the most tuned decks, basically. So if you want to be that person and have the most tuned decks, you can, but having fun alternative formats, and everyone says PvE, but just in general, having fun non-competitive formats, I think is very important for a game like Flesh and Blood. Hopefully we see all this stuff going forward. There's a lot of stuff they can do.
Don't give up yet, even if you don't want to spend too much money on it, because there'll be lots of things coming, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see what those kind of things look like. But speaking of just sort of overall design and stuff, that kind of it flows nicely into this next question that we have to discuss. Do y'all think it would mess up set design to release extra heroes in a given class? For example, Uprising would have had 2 Draconic Ninjas, Phi, and another one that could play differently. This could up draft diversity while also reducing the need to wait for replacements after 1 Living Legends. So for an example of this, we have Outsiders, where we had 2 of each class that had 2 kind of like distinct play styles that sort of complemented each other. So obviously in that respect, I think there are a lot of people that really like Uprising Draft. There are a lot of people that have really good things to say about it, especially because there are dual class cards that sort of allow you to keep yourself open within the draft. I think the one consequence of this, however, is that overall sealed quality goes way down. I don't know if that's just my own experience with it, but because there are essentially 6 different playstyles that you can work towards, sealed was miserable for me. You would get like 3 total playable cards for your strategy that you wanted to do, and then you just have to build it out with a bunch of garbage, and maybe not even have enough to make your strategy work.
Well, everyone was just running piles in sealed this time, just because of the card economy. You just like, oh, I run more cards because it's not going to be as consistent. I might as well just run more.
Yeah, just run every single card that can be put into this deck. So, but it does make draft really good, and I do think that the point about not needing to wait for replacements for cards that live in Legend is relevant. Like, it kind of feels bad that right now there's no way to represent a Shadow Runeblade in CC until we get Vincent again. Of course, this is all just based on the current moment. I really like Prism, and I really like playing Blitz, and there's no way for me to play Prism outside of Blitz, even if I wanted to. That feels kind of bad. Like just light Illusionist, or right now kind of, well, I mean, non-Draconic Illusionist. There's really no way to play that deck without playing Draconic Illusionist instead. So I think it would be interesting. I think they have the ability. They've demonstrated that they have the capability of designing a set with that in mind. So I think it would be cool. Maybe a little bit dense as far as a set goes, but yeah, what do you guys think?
I think it is a slam dunk. I love Outsiders, though, to be fair, Outsiders didn't really bring a lot of new heroes. Outsiders only brought 3 new heroes, technically, and 3 returning heroes. So, in terms of... We've talked a lot about limited, but in terms of actual constructed balance, they would have to make sure that if it's all new heroes, so say they introduce a new talent. For example, let's say we're going to Mysteria, right? And we have 3 classes and 6 heroes, 2 of each, and they all have the new talent, right? So now you have Mist Ninja, Mist Wizard, and Mist Illusionist, right? You'd have to make sure all 6 of the heroes are balanced for competitive play, which means more dev time, which just means you need a larger dev team, which I know they're working towards. So I think this is a great idea. If they can facilitate it in a way that it works, and if maybe they can put some more time into the sealed balance as well to make it more fun. You could maybe, I'm not a card game designer right now, so it's like, any suggestion that I give might be like a little, make it better, forehead. But it's like, I'm like, well, maybe you make the balancing for draft, maybe you make the archetypes a little less concrete and more nebulous between the 2 heroes, so it's easier to have a more cohesive sealed pool or something like that. I think it's I think it's good.
I think sealed is hard to design for, though, right? Because it's just random packs that you get.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with draft, you're still selecting cards from those packs as they're passed to you. So I think TCGs in general will have a hard time to design for sealed.
Oh yeah.
It's more of like a fun thing, isn't it? You go to your pre-release, you get 6 packs, see what you get, and then build a stupid deck out of it as to what you can do, and see how far you get. I know there's content out there which says, "Oh, smash your pre-release," but you can't really. It's all dependent on your packs that you get.
Well, so yeah. So like some games do sealed in such a way, and I think a lot of games actually do this, where you get your sealed pool, you get your 6 packs, but you also usually get like a seeded pack for some of these other games that has like a set of staple cards to make it so that your sealed pool doesn't suck. Magic the Gathering does this. Grand Archive is going to be doing this. I think Pokemon even does this. Like a bunch of games do this for sealed, where you get your 6 random packs, but you also get like a special sealed pack that's usually just like staples to make the deck not feel like garbage.
That'd be a cool idea.
I mean, that's something Flesh and Blood could do. Maybe a little generic pack or something to make it so that your deck doesn't feel like garbage or. Yeah. Sometimes the sealed packs are like tailored, so it's like, oh, you got like for example, for an old Magic draft set that I drafted a lot of and did a lot of sealed for Tarkir block, like Khans of Tarkir, you'd get like a little pack, but it'll be like you got the Teamer pack, and here's a bunch of Teamer cards or
Mm.
whatever. So for Flesh and Blood, the analog would be, oh, you got an Assassin pack, and here's a bunch of Assassin cards, so you don't have to run a pile. You can have like a, a cohesive deck.
Actual synergies, yeah.
Yeah, because I agree. I think it is a difficult thing for TCGs just in general to balance, and the game that I'm getting into the most right now, I mean, other than Flesh and Blood, is Grand Archive, and I know the devs there. I've talked to them about it. It's a difficult thing to balance sealed and make it like playable. Where they're like pretty confident on their draft, they're sealed. They're like, So like I said, they're going to be doing like for the next set, it's going to be like you get your packs, but then you also get like an extra little sealed thing for it. So yeah. But overall, I think most of the people, mostly if they can balance it right, everyone wins, right? More heroes, more options.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just having additional choice, I think, is never a bad idea. So as long as they can implement it properly, yeah, like you said, I don't think there's a loser in that scenario. I think everybody benefits. But sort of on the topic again of like draft and sealed and stuff like that, the next question up here is, if you could design a play format, what would you design? I
mean,
I was kind of kicking around the idea of, if anybody's ever heard of Chaff Goblin.
oh yeah, I've streamed it.
Yeah, I would love to do like a roguelike version of Chaff Goblin where you can have like a tournament structure where you, depending on whether you win or lose, you get either like a powerful card from a certain
Oh,
power tier of stuff and get to add it to your
like
deck.
a
And it's
league.
yeah, like a league. I think the easiest way to do that would be something online, though.
Yeah.
Like doing a physical version of that feels like I was trying to get some of the logistics together, and it was kind of a nightmare. But I just like roguelike stuff, and I think that could be really fun.
God, yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah, so that's kind of my idea.
My answer
Yeah.
is like the easiest answer of all time. Player versus environment. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. If I could design one, like a co-op mode, which would be super cool. Yeah. So that's my answer. I mean, like it's so obvious for Flesh and Blood, right? Like we know it's coming. That they've talked about it, but it's like such an obvious thing. Flesh and Blood, you have characters that are essentially they're like RPG characters. They're the most RPG like of any other trading card game out there, right? You have your class and your character and your armor and your everything all set up, right? And it just makes sense. Like the only thing missing from it is like your heroes leveling up and fighting monsters and stuff, which I think you could do. So that's my answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I actually spoke to someone the other day called Techlo Crow on Twitter who had designed something along the lines of like a co-op PvE thing.
Yeah. He sent me a deck before. I did a video on it. It's pretty good.
Oh, is that what it was? Was it nice? Yeah, I was going to say it could be a nice little thing to speak about on your channel or something, but I didn't know whether you'd seen it or not. But yeah, so PvEs are definitely one that I'd love to see as well. But also, I've been speaking about this weird sort of maybe a tag team sort of team like 2-on-2, two-headed giant style thing in FAB that could potentially work as well. But I do like the team format. The team formats I think are also another thing that need to be expanded on more. Whether that's two-headed giant style or whether it's just you're three people sat against other three people playing singular games. I think the team format is a great thing to experience with your mates and stuff. So I'd love to see that expanded a little bit more as well.
Ian and I actually like drummed up a bunch of rules for a tag team format.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go about it. We spent a long time talking about it, where like you can either have them both fighting at the same time, or you tag them in, so you can like it's like an actual tag team, or you like do an action to tag in your teammate, or there's a lot of things you can do. I think it could be fun.
Yeah,
definitely.
Might be worth trying out on a stream at some point. We can get the people together to do it.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah.
There's just so much variety of potential content that can be made through just the framework of Flesh and Blood, and I think that's really cool. I'm still really excited to see what they do with PvE. and also what other people come up with, because there are, there are different formats that people are still sort of working at, like there's that one, I'm so sorry that I can't remember the name, but it's like Commoner Plus.
Oh yeah,
Clash.
I have issues with that format.
Clash.
I have issues with that format,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
at least people are iterating. They're still like, people want to be able to interact with the game at the level that they choose, and I think that the ability and the opportunity is there, which is really interesting. So
and just quickly tackle on to that. This is one of those episodes where all these topics are just absolutely fantastic. So thanks for the questions. But yeah, if you look at Magic the Gathering, for instance, I don't want to mention it too much, obviously, but Commander was one of the things that was spawned from someone who just had an idea that that wanted to use the MTG framework to build a multiplayer casual experience. And Flesh and Blood still has that ability where you can mess around with the rules. You could make an entire channel based on, if there's content creators out there, you could just run with it. You could be like, oh yeah, I made this thing. It's two-headed giant I need said flab then.
Flab.
Two-headed giant flab. Brilliant. But yeah, you could literally just mess around with the rules and just make whatever you want, and it could take off. You experience the game how you want to experience it, and make something if you're passionate about it. So
yeah, and I think that's great. So hopefully somebody listening to this has an idea that they think is worthwhile, and if you do have that, try it out. Try exploring it, because you never know where it might go.
exactly.
But yeah, the next one I think is really interesting, and we all, I think, will have unique takes on this. If you could get rid of the class on the card, what legendary would be broken in most decks?
I
Yeah,
think this is going to reflect our individual play styles. So just go ahead.
Yeah. My immediate thought was Carrion Husk. I think that Carrion Husk is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
It is just so good at preventing on hits. It blocks for 6. Like, yeah, it starts to tick you down as the game wears on, but stopping that one on hit, like, it makes a Dominated Crippling Crush like actually potentially blockable, which I think is crazy.
It makes cards like T-Bone really sweet, where you force them to block with their husk when you T-Bone them.
Yeah. So I just think that Carrion Husk is my vote for that. I just have I have a spot deep down in my heart for how good that card is. So that's my vote.
Yeah.
So here, I'll give you my answer. You know what I like? I like drawing cards. You know what also I like? Being aggressive. So my answer is Mask of Momentum. Get absolutely dunked. Like Mask of Momentum and like
Momentum with chain.
Any go wide. I'm thinking that, Mask of Momentum with like Lexi. I don't care about it. You know what? Get rid of. I don't care about the New Horizons. If you give me Mask of Momentum, I will shoot you with a bunch of arrows and I will draw more cards and I'll shoot you with more arrows. Like, give me that. Just give me. So that's my answer. Mask of Momentum.
Wow. Yeah,
that's a good answer.
Crazy.
I like that.
That is a good one.
Also, the art.
I'm struck.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can imagine, Lexi wearing that, can't you? The mask. It looks quality.
Ninja Ranger, yeah.
Absolute Ninja Ranger. That's what originally was gonna happen in Outsiders, because we got the obviously Assassin Ranger Codex. We had the
They were all assassin mixes.
They're all Assassin Rangers, yeah. But when we first looked at it, I thought, is it going to be one for each class? There wasn't. Anyway, I don't have a clue what my pick would be, because I only play one class and one class only, and I think it's I don't know whether I'd want anything else from any other class that could be quite good. Although blocking out on hits with like the Carrion Husk, for instance, could be a good thing. But then that sacrifices your tunic counter. So I don't know. It's a hard one for me, I think. Is there any decent arms that a ranger could use instead of bullseye? And
I'm trying to think of arms. I was gonna say Shuko, but Shuko doesn't work because you're using a lot of high attack cards.
Yeah.
To be fair, there just aren't that many good arms in general yet. Like,
true.
I don't know.
The best
one I can think of is Brave Forge Bracers, honestly.
I mean, you could do like what it's called. It's the Guardian one, but that only does
Greater Fist?
that only does crush effects.
Crush
Yeah.
cards. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tough
I don't
one.
know. Arms is a tough slot for right now.
Yeah. For Ranger anyway, it's like they do have other things they can use if they want to block, but that still synergize, like Hornet Sting and Toxic Tips block, don't they? But Bullseye Braces is just too good, I think.
But they only block one, like
Hornet Sting and that, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the best two options would probably be. I mean, the only option really for a truly generic card, if you were to take out the class, would be like Grasp of the Arknight. Because it doesn't have a restriction. Like at least Brave Forge Bracers needs a weapon to get to use its thing. Like you need to be able to attack with a weapon. You can just make a rune chant as long as you have the resources.
Oh wow, yeah, Arcane Damage Ranger. Yeah,
I'll
take that then. Cheers, Bill.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What about something like Spellbound Creepers? Could you break Ranger with like a Spellbound Creepers, playing like non-attacks as instants and getting go again off of them?
Oh, that would be
maybe you could.
I bet you could do some.
Maybe.
I bet you could do some crazy stuff with that. Playing 3 of a kind as an instant, like I don't know. There's probably some stuff you could do with like priority and layer like stacking and stuff to break that.
Oh yeah. Either the Grasp or the Creepers. Then yeah, there we go. But leave a comment in the section below if there's if something you think Ranger could access that's outside of the class. Let me know because I want to hear that spice, even though I can't use it. Maybe in a future video.
To be honest, the answer is probably just Carrion Husk. It's probably just Carrion Husk. It's just like just block
for 6.
You just block 6. Actually, yeah. When a undominated crippling crush comes in and you block with a Carrion Husk, it goes the total amount blocked. You only need to block 3 damage, 2 damage, 3 damage. I think.
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
11 coming in. You block 6. That goes to 5. You need to block 2 damage for the crush to not happen.
Yeah.
So, Carrion Husk.
and like
and that's okay.
My answer is also pretty good for range. Well, my answer is good for not Azalea Rangers. My answer is good for Riptide and Lexi. Like
oh gotcha. Yeah.
Like Mask Momentum would be pretty sweet for Riptide as well.
Yeah. I do like Mask Momentum. That's something that is not a secret.
Cool.
Let's see. The next one here, another sort of design question. If you could design any card and get it printed /legal, what would it be /do? This one's a lot more of an open question, of course.
I already know my answer because I designed cards for Ranger like a year ago that weren't expanded on. But I want something that says like it's like a sort of buff for Ranger that blocks for 3, but can also it says your equipment can't block this attack. Essentially, so you're using your absolute aiming skills to find the cracks in someone's armor, and therefore they can't block with armor. It can't be too OP. I still would want it to block for 3 because it's obviously Ranger non-attacks are block for 3, like Deadeye and Melting Point are obviously very good. But it'd probably have to be a red that gives you +2 or +3, but then has that evasion on it. I don't know if it would be very strong in the grand scheme of things, but I've always wanted some sort of effects that gets around armor because I feel like trying to shoot an arrow at a warrior or a rune blade with their huge fridges is quite hard. Even like Bravo and stuff as well, or Shadow Heroes. Obviously, we just spoke about Carrion Husk, but yeah, something along the lines that evades armor for arrow attacks. I would say.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yes.
For me, it was really funny because when we were looking at it was Dynasty, I think, when Dynasty was first getting released, and they were releasing new Illusionist stuff. I was like, oh man, I really want something that I can play in my my Prism deck, because realistically, the thing that I need in that deck is either cards that buff, like Transmogrify, like Phantasmify, or cards that accept a buff well. So like 0-cost attacks that block for 3 and have a relevant on hit. Or just something in between that. Like I have I have like Wartune Heralds and stuff like that are kind of just ways to do something even if you don't have the A+B combo. And honestly, when I read what is it, Phantasmal Symbiosis, I was like, I could not have designed a better card. This is exactly what I wanted in every possible capacity. The more I read it, the more I loved it. So that would be my answer, honestly. If I could design a card, it would just be Phantasmal Symbiosis. But now at this point, I would just want another maybe generic 0-cost attack that blocks for 3, maybe even attacks in for like 1, but has an on hit.
Oh yeah.
Like my pox, like something else. Maybe just like
so
a
just so you can mess with its base power. Yeah,
exactly.
Do the standard Bill Spike Feeders combo.
Yeah. Luminaris is just really good, man. That's
it is
all I
very
gotta
good.
say. Yeah, that'd be my answer, I think.
Nice.
There's 2 ways you can approach this answer. There's the selfish and greedy way where you pick something that's really good for your favorite deck currently, which is, I could easily do that. For Uzuri, I just want more cards that make my opponent discard stuff. So there's only a couple right now. There's like Surgical Extraction, there's Shakedown, and there's like Pummels and stuff. But maybe another Shakedown type card I would be very, very happy with, because it just makes my deck better. But the flavor, the lore nerd in me and the flavor nerd in me would say, so when I first designed my own custom assassin card and assassin cards and class and all this kind of stuff years before the assassin class came out, I had a couple cards. My version of assassin was centered around the money mechanic in Flesh and Blood, copper, silver, and gold, because assassins get paid, and so there was like this mechanic where it was all about that. So it's similar to Contract actually, but not quite. And I had a card called was it just called Vanish? It was a card basically like in a lot of fantasy trope. One of the fantasy tropes of a rogue or an assassin is that they're stealthy, right? They're sneaky and that they can vanish from sight. And we have the stealth mechanic, but it doesn't really feel sneaky to me, other than Uzuri's kind of switch ability. So I would have some sort of defensive vanish, turn invisible type effect, kind of like Feign Death, but maybe differently. Done a little bit differently. So some sort of like smoke bomb, vanish from sight kind of thing that would get him out of danger. So maybe a D-react or something that prevents all of the damage, but at a big cost, or only if you did something. Like I said, kind of like Feign Death, because that's exactly what Feign Death does. It's like it's like a
counter spell almost. Like two costed, you're not dealing any damage to me from this attack situation. Which I think is an assassin-y thing as well, isn't it? Like dodging the attack, just outright uncanny dodge in D&D. Just see you later. I'm dodging this attack.
I will not forget to be using that a lot in our upcoming session. Don't you worry. I watch some people play D&D, and they forget to do stuff like that. And I'm like, no, you could do
just
so much
dodge.
Yeah.
Just get out the way of the attack. It's not hard, is it?
Yeah. So anyway, so that'd be my
don't get hit.
Just move out the way of the incoming sword.
If it were me, I would simply not get hit by the sword.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my answer. Some sort of evasion-y, stealth, vanish kind of thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the greedy player in me says another strong discard effect.
More discard,
that just makes Uzuri better. So
yeah.
Let's see. The next one here is going to be, I think, pretty divisive. Best versus worst talents in each of your honest opinions.
Ice, go away.
Actually,
I guess that's the question.
Ice too. I say Ice too as well. Actually. Well, no. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me think a little harder.
I'm just speaking out of just PTSD more than anything.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I like light as a mechanic. Like let me explain. I don't think light is busted inherently. But I don't really like the mechanics of playing it. Like, for example, like Bolton, like charging cards from your hand, so you just have these awkward hands where you need 4 cards to do anything at all. And then you have minimal effect from the soul, like that you can sometimes use it, and sometimes it's like Prism, like if Prism didn't have the mechanic where like she can do the things from soul, like how much worse would she be? Like probably not that much worse, right?
I think she would be largely the same.
Like, yeah, like I'm gonna say light for mine, not because I don't like it flavor wise, but mechanically speaking, I'm just like I'm underwhelmed. That's the best way to put it. I'm a little underwhelmed on the light mechanic in general, and I say this now before Dusk Till Dawn comes out. If Dusk Till Dawn makes it like banger, then that'd be cool.
I think it just needs. I think Light just needs some more cards that actually work with its storage mechanic. Because obviously, over the course of the game, and I remember this interaction because we played Bill. I played against Bolton, and one of the cards that really surprised me was Beacon of Victory. And the fact that you had 14 cards in your soul, and it was it was an attack reaction for 14. I was like, wow, okay. Just more cards that sort of inherently work off of the storage mechanic, I think could be good, because you're ultimately weak at the start of the game because you're throwing these rubbish attacks, but you're charging your soul in order to do it. If there's other cards that say deal X damage, where X is the number of cards in your soul and it costs 0, later on in the game, after you've stored all these cards and struggled through the first half of your cycle, etc., you're going to then start getting to these really horrible on-rate attacks from the storage stuff that you've been doing, plus all the other stuff that Bolton has. So,
yeah, I would have said Shadow, but Chain Shadow is good and it makes sense. But like Levia Shadow is just like not, because it just kills you, like, and doesn't make you actually that much stronger. So it's like Levia Shadow is like also not great. I would that's also my second one. But if I had to pick just one, I think Light overall is underwhelming.
Yeah. As you guys were mentioning your picks, I was kind of reevaluating my own, because I do really like Shadow, and I think that like Chain's Shadow almost alone carries Shadow as a class for me, as a talent. Like it's just so crazy. And I was about to say that I think Earth is the weakest, but at the same time, Earth gave Oldhim Crown of Seeds.
Earth is annoying as hell, man.
Earth is annoying.
Mount Heroic.
Channel Mount Heroic.
It's kind of interesting because I think maybe now at this point, Lightning honestly might be the weakest outside of Ball Lightning. Like from the Tales of Aria ones, specifically.
Lightning was strong enough to get banned. I mean, Lightning was like strong enough to have cards banned. Like, what light card got banned? Like,
yeah, I guess that's true.
The shadow cards got banned. We had like Seeds of Agony. We had Crown of Seeds get banned in Blitz.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Because this question is also like the best and worst. So my worst would be my most underwhelming. My worst would be Light. The best is probably Ice. Like,
I think from a strength standpoint, I think Ice is the winner.
Ice is just nuts.
Yeah.
And it's also like probably the most annoying and least fun to play against, but it's also super strong.
Well, they had to ban a weapon which created ice tokens or frostbite tokens. That just goes to show how oppressive it was, So, it just makes your strategy just a boatload less. You can't do what you want to do because you have to just pay through all these tax effects and what have you. It's just, I'm speaking from just having to battle through multiple lake frigids over the course of a game and getting very cold. Process.
That was the only game that I lost in the last skirmish that I played. I was on an absolute tear on Chain. I was 7-0 going into the finals, and then my opponent in the last round in the top 2 was able to keep out a single channel Lake Frigid for 3 consecutive turns. And I was like, well,
I think competitively speaking, if you're going to talk just terms of power level and cards of the talent, I think Bill was on the right track with Lightning. I think Lightning is the weakest out of all of them. If you want to split Elemental into 3 different things.
Which I think is the most charitable way to do it, and I think that's the way that most people would consider it anyway.
Because I mean, I guess we do have Icelander, which is only ice, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think Lightning does have some good stuff, but overall, it's probably the weakest.
Yeah.
Well, of those
three,
I still think Light.
Like Channel Thunderstep.
Oh god, it's awful.
The fact that I even thought about Earth as well. Like we have Channel Mount Heroic in Earth. That card's crazy. That card is so above rate.
Earth is pretty good. Yeah.
Earth is pretty good, actually. Yeah. So I think it might be Lightning save for Ball Lightning. I think Ball Lightning was just an overtuned card in
Ball
general.
Lightning is nuts. Yeah. But like. Yeah, but like I think the other stuff and the other ones are more impactful overall.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I think Light is actually overall. I think Light just in general is the most underwhelming.
Yeah. Like even I love Prism as a light hero. If I could play 0 light cards except for Luminaris, I absolutely would, guaranteed. Yeah. Like I don't think any of the light cards are good enough. I mean, specifically for my strategy, but there isn't really anything Light does that really puts itself head and shoulders above other things.
There's good light. I mean, there's like Genesis and there's Celestial Cataclysm, but like they just have the light keyword on them, and if they didn't, like you'd still play them.
I feel like they could just be regular illusionist cards in some capacity. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then the other light hero just kind of was like not great.
Bolton. We don't talk about Bolton. The next one here is another one that I think we've touched on like at various points throughout the last year even. If you could make a type of class or new dual class, what would it be?
100% Necromancer confirmed.
100% Necromancer confirmed.
Dual class would be weird. Like so far, I know just from the LSS mentioning it, even though we can kind of disregard it for this question because it's all in theory anyway, that I think they said that for at least the time being, Emperor is going to be the only dual class hero that exists, because being dual class requires some amount of like lore strength. Like it takes someone with a lot of expertise and just inherent personal strength in order to be two classes.
On the Emperor hero page, it specifically says that he's the only being in Wraith to have two classes, at least at the time of the thing.
Yeah, so it's possible that there could be a new thing either created or birthed or something that can have two classes, but just like mechanically, we're only going to see one. In terms of what I would love to see as dual class, personally, I would love Mechanologist / Shadow Runeblade.
Oh, boo.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Absolute degenerate.
I would love to boost my Shadow Aversirs into my banished stuff.
Where we go. Shadow confirmed for the next set.
That's the most degenerate answer.
I know,
it's just like super chain. You're just super chain at that point.
Yeah, turbo chain.
Yeah. Boost your things to play them from your banish that also have go again. You just play your whole deck.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, play your thing from banished that also has boost that banishes another thing with blood debt that also has boost. Let's go.
Wow.
The meme answer would be like Shapeshifter Bard, or anything mixed with Shapeshifter, Bard, or Merchant would be hilarious, because none of them actually have meaningful class cards, except for maybe Bard, where you could use Hummingbird, which would be funny. Like you could be like Assassin Bard. If I could make any class, not necessarily a dual class, I am very curious to see what they do with Alchemist and Necromancer. I have a feeling, I hope not Alchemist is a full class. I have a feeling Alchemist might be a little subclass like Merchant. I would very much like to see a full class Alchemist. So I guess that's my answer. Alchemist. Necromancer would be cool too. And actually we talked about this. We were chatting in our session 0 for our D&D game that we're going to be doing. But I was chatting with Kale about it, and I said that a Necromancer, but in the Savage Lands, this is my like prediction, is that we're not going to get a traditional Necromancer initially that people expect, like the Diablo style Western raising skeletons and zombies. I was like, I think we could actually see our first necromancer in the Savage Lands as more of a shaman necromancer kind of thing, because we already have a card called Reincarnate that like is from the Savage Lands, and so they're more of like a that kind of thing. So that could also be cool. So that's
and even like the brute border has got like skulls littered around it, and it's got like these sort of totem-y sort of style stuff. So yeah, maybe like a shamanic necromancer could be a good shout.
Yeah, and I mean the Savage Lands feels very like life and death kind of themed too, and that's exactly what necromancers deal with, life and death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, imagine that. Oh, new brute set. Here we go. It's for all the brute players out here. It's just like a shamanic ogre in a dress.
It's like necromancer, cleric, and then like one other random thing like alchemist. They're like Savage Land set. No brute support.
Oh, wizards in the set and all sorts. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
Oh my god. With regards to my pick for dual class, I'm going to go off of the back of the D&D session, which is going to be coming out soon, because my character is essentially a ranger / mechanologist steampunk warrior. So there's quite an amalgamation of things there, but I think we are also going to be doing like a Ultimate Pit Fight episode where we play custom characters of our characters as well. So this could be something that you see in the future. It's not set in stone yet, but it's an idea that we've got. So stay tuned. But yeah, some sort of because I like rangers and I like utilitarian heroes that can do multiple things, not overpowered in one area, but can do multiple things in different areas. So like my character has a sword, he has a bow, and he could have multiple little mechanical things like smoke bombs and stuff that he chucks and does different effects and that sort of thing. So I'd love to have like a mechanologist, potentially ranger crossover as well, because I could really see that aesthetic. And that goes on to one of the other questions on here is about motorcycles, because my character does have a motorcycle as well, a steam-powered one.
I do believe the question specifically, though, is would FAB be better if Greiner had a cool motorcycle?
Yes.
I reckon a big chopper or something, just like up this.
Yeah, the answer is yes. Yeah, that's the answer to that one.
Absolutely yes. Yeah.
I don't think there's a doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give Reinar a motorcycle. Give him the motorcycle from T-Bone. Like Reinar just riding the T-Bone.
Yeah. Yeah. Reinar would just pick up the motorbike and just chuck it, wouldn't he?
He like pulls out his club and just kind of holds it out to the side, just starts smashing like mailboxes and stuff as he rides by.
Being an absolute hooligan.
He definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that was also one of the questions. There's another one it seems to be related. I think most card games would be better if they included more motorcycles in their art.
I
agree.
I responded to that one with like a picture of T-Bone. So
yeah,
they're working on it.
Flesh and Blood has motorcycles. Like it
really does.
Canon motorcycles. Also, do you like steak? Obligatory for those who know.
T-Bone.
The next question is Jason. Jason.
Absolute question. Jason.
Sean.
At this point in time, I would like to give away this card. Okay, so
perfect.
So I'm not sure exactly what we should have people say, but we will have you comment something in the comments down below. This is going to be your typical like, comment, subscribe kind of giveaway thing. Just comment something down below, and it would also be cool if you subscribed and liked. But you don't technically have to do that. You do have to comment something. Otherwise, I don't know. So, what should we have them comment? Let me think. We can do one of these other things. We can go back to the last comment. What if you can make a type of if you make a class or a dual class, what would it be? But yeah, audience.
Yeah, do that.
Audience. Comment down below if you could make a new Flesh and Blood class or a dual class, what could it be? And we can make it extra hard and say that you can't pick any of our answers.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can. Maybe you can. Maybe you can say you agree. You agree with what we say.
Yeah, let us know in comments below.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. And then that's for this good deeds don't go unnoticed. I'll pick the winner in like I don't know, like a week or so from this. Yeah,
Definitely.
you know what? I'll shout out the winner on the next Living Legends podcast. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Here we are then.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, definitely put your answers down below. Really excited to see what you guys have, and best of luck to the to everybody, and hopefully you get to win a cool promo as a result.
Yeah.
So next one up here, this seems to be targeted at Kel specifically, but I will adapt it to myself and as well. But the question is simply, who is your favorite hero, and why is it Uzuri?
Uzuri is my favorite hero as well, to be fair.
Many reasons. Uzuri is my favorite hero. You know, she's super cool in the lore. She has a really, really cool ability in the lore, actually, that if you didn't read the lore, you might not know, but she has the ability to basically transmute or transform objects into other objects. So the way she uses this is to kill people. So she transforms, like, at one point she transforms her dagger into a much longer sword to fight a dude. She transforms her dagger into a razor blade to cut someone's throat. She transforms it into dynamite to blow up a door to escape. So she's super cool, and also Assassin's my favorite class, and I love her ability to like do the whole switcheroo kind of thing. It's really fun, and I like the way it plays. And yeah, so I like Uzuri. How about you, Az? Who is your favorite hero, and why is it Lexi? I mean Azalea. Oh, sorry, slip of the tongue.
That's right. Yeah, brilliant. Praise be the Lexi cult.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm my favorite character is I think you said I'm Az from Goarin Gaming. We've already done that part. So my favorite character is Azalea, obviously.
What?
Praise be the hashtag Azalea cult and all that. But yeah, she encapsulates the true underdog story, and she's really having her moment in the sun now with regards to she's actually got Living Legends points recently. It's another bit of news we can touch on briefly. I think twice now. I think she's got a couple of Living Legend points. One piloted by a Sandscar Great Bow list, and the other one was I don't know what the other one was. I haven't seen too much about it. But yeah, true underdog story, and she's finally having a moment in the sun. But yeah, I've always liked the sort of Thieves Guild sort of style, sort of underbelly, dark, cavernous assassin guild, and all that sort of D&D tropes, like Underdark and all that sort of stuff. I love that sort of aesthetic, and that's like Gotham City almost, like really, really dark, and you know, it's the street level. The street level petty stuff is really where like the sort of dregs of humanity come out to play. I feel like that sort of storytelling is better than the sort of universal multiverse style threats and stuff. I think the decrepit pits and nature of all that sort of thing is much better when exploring characters' stories and all that sort of thing. So yeah, Azalea at the heart of the pits and Blackjack's Tavern. Really, really like her, and yeah, just love the archery side of it as well. Absolutely love heroes that can shoot things at long range in multiple games, and video games, and what have you. But yeah, that's it really.
And Bill, how about you? And why is it? I'm gonna just say Prism. I'm just gonna throw out Prism there.
It is at this point definitely Prism. The main reason is honestly Luminaris. My favorite hero is Luminaris.
That's a hell of a drug.
And yeah, Luminaris is just great. I am a big fan of Transmogrify. I just love giving things go again that don't already have go again, and sort of leveraging the power of it. So the fact that the buffs that I'm able to play in the aggro deck not only give things go again by turning them into illusionist cards, they also pump their attack by a ridiculous amount. So they kind of do double duty in that sense. So yeah, Prism is just the deck that I'm able to play it in. Like she's the hero that's able to do that because of Luminaris being a light illusionist weapon. But yeah, so it's interesting though, because I don't know that I'm actually as obsessed with Prism as the hero, just that she is the container that this deck is able to fit in.
Yeah.
Which is fine, and we'll see if the other Prism, if the new Prism is any good for that strategy as well. But we will definitely see. I think in terms of actual heroes, like a hero that I really find interesting outside of just the deck that they play or that they head, is probably Chain at this point. Chain's strategy of being able to pull stuff from the banished zone and just kind of again give things go again that don't already have them is also really cool and aligns really closely with how I like to play the game. It also doesn't hurt that Rosetta Thorn exists and that Chain is able to leverage it probably the best out of any Runeblade.
Oh god, Chain.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Chain. I'm a big fan of Prism. Light and dark heroes that have been living legended in CC, both.
Absolutely busted heroes.
Absolute spike.
Only one of them I like playing for the busted reason, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I will say I think Illusionist is my third favorite class. If I had to like rank them, Assassin, Ranger, and then I actually really do like Illusionist. You can't see here, but I do. Like I literally have both Illusionists hand drawn and then also an Assassin.
Yeah.
And then across from me, I have the giant Lexi canvas. So like, I got all my favorite classes represented. I do like Runeblade too, but this is gonna sound hipstery. I liked Runeblade when it was Viscera, and it was like different.
Yeah.
When it was like this weird mid-range kind of combo control thing that you were doing, and not like, I'm just gonna shoot you for 1,000,000, which I do like. I do like the aggro aspect, but it's like it's different. It's different. It feels like a ninja, but with arcane as well. And then Chain's just bullshit. Like
Yeah.
he's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I don't disagree, to be fair.
yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. We know that James has said that his favorite Magic card of all time is Necropotence, and Chain is the Necropotence of Flesh and Blood, and it is, and it's busted like Necropotence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely can see that. That is very, very obvious.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the next one isn't a question, but I will still shout it out because, it was something that was submitted. Just a simple statement, all is good in the world.
Yeah.
So I hope that that's you updating us that everything is good in your life, which I sincerely hope, and I hope for everyone that listens to this podcast that your lives are good. And that, that there are fewer struggles than average for everybody that's listening to this.
Yeah,
I know that struggles are a part of life, but I just sincerely hope that everybody's doing well.
And hopefully this podcast gets you through some of those struggles. If you are working a job that you don't like or what have you, I've been there as well. Stacking boxes or whatever.
Oh, for sure.
You got your podcast in your ears. It's getting you through, and hopefully that's what we're doing. So hang in there if that's the case.
Yeah. Okay, so next one here, we kind of have touched on already, which is also totally fine. What's your prediction for the next new class to be released? I think it's kind of tough because we don't quite know where we're going to be going next. I'm still holding out rather for Alchemist. So I think I was pretty much hoping Alchemist was going to be in, was it Dynasty?
Yeah, so Dynasty mentioned alchemists in the lore, but they also mentioned assassins, which I was like, oh, there's going to be assassin. And it turns out there was an assassin, but no alchemist.
And I think everybody was kind of surprised that ninja ended up being the third class.
And
I was kind of hoping for alchemist.
Alchemist has been like everyone's prediction for like the last 3 or 4 sets, because it was like Uprising, Alchemist, Dynasty, Alchemist, Outsiders, Lena Bell, Alchemist. 100% confirmed Alchemist. No Alchemist. I don't think we're gonna get an Alchemist for a while, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I recently did a metrics thing I told you about earlier. And I think it's more suited to like being like a how a lightning earth. What's the other one? Why am I blanking on it? Ice. Like I think it's got more of a space to be like.
Oh, interesting.
You're a mechanologist, but you have the branch of study being the biomancy or the thing. Yeah, so that was
Like
all of my all my
engineer.
recent videos. Yeah. So you're a mechanologist. So in the metric set, that this was my speculation was that you're a mechanologist, but you have the study in biomancy or the study in alchemy. Because it's a prominent part on the law section, which is what I went into earlier. But yeah, that's what a lot of people thought was the fact that obviously because we had the pits. Pits is very adjacent to metrics, so he thought that alchemist could have been in the pits because Leonard Bell was there, and alchemy is another thing that's in metrics. So I think it could be a metrics thing when we see it, but I don't know whether that's going to be this year or not. To be honest, now
that's a really interesting to think about. Maybe they might go that direction. We do know there are, like, at least in the world, I don't know, in like flavor wise, there are alchemists like in Volcor, for example, because they mentioned like there was an alchemy lab or whatever that got burned down. So I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I think my prediction for this year is the next set after Dust Till Dawn will be Mysteria. And I think a lot of people will be like upset that we get another ninja or something. I think it'd be interesting if we do Mysteria and no ninja. Kale from Dead Summer Art theorized that we could get a brute in Mysteria, and the brute would be more of like a, like the Japanese or the trope of like the really large dude with like the giant club kind of thing that you see in a lot of like Japanese lore, like stories and stuff. Usually the club is just like spiked or whatever. So I think we get illusionist in that set too. Actually, my guess, my next guess is necromancer. I know it's a meme, but like it feels the most likely to see coming up next. Who knows? But like I think there's a non-zero chance we see Necro in Dust Till Dawn, because literally Dorinthia fights a necromancer in Morlock Hill, the story. She literally fights a necromancer, and the necromancer escapes into like a portal. And we know that the Dust Till Dawn, or we know that the Monarch is a trilogy, Monarch trilogy, Dust Till Dawn being the second one. I think we will see a necromancer at some point in the trilogy. And I think there's a non-zero chance we see it in Dust Till Dawn. Could be in the third one, but I think we'll see it eventually. So that's my safe bet. I say Necro.
Yeah.
That's the next one. Yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
And then I definitely already answered this next one. Of the currently released talents and classes, what's your dream class talent combo that doesn't already exist? Shadow Mechanologist.
Yeah. The one that my dream combo. I don't know. It's something mixed with Assassin. It's either going to be Assassin Ranger or Assassin Ranger already exists. So Assassin Illusionist. Let's do that. Like an what do you call it? Arcane Trickster. In D&D, you can Arcane Trickster, so you have like a sneaky person, but they can also use magic. That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
we'll do that.
Nice. Awesome.
How about yourself, Az? Are you sticking with?
Yeah, I'll stick with my old answer just because I want to hype up the D&D thing, because that's basically what my character is a mechanologist, ranger, warrior, all at the same time.
Yeah. I have daggers. Stab, stab, stab.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have an amulet. I have a rock.
Rock.
Let's see.
People are gonna think now you're a brute. You're just walking around with rock.
Possible. It's possible. You just have to find out.
You could probably smash someone over the head with that thing.
I think there's going to be a lot of things that I can do with that thing. What that thing doing indeed. So, second last question here. These have all been really, really great, by the way.
Yeah,
Really
cheers.
great jumping off points for this set of discussions. What can LSS and LGSs do to get more people interested in trying Flesh and Blood? Follow up. Do you think it works better to focus on people new to TCGs or veterans, such as current MTG players? Second follow up. How would you feel about FAB products showing up in big box stores like Target?
Ooh.
So obviously that's a three-parter. So we'll start with the first one. What can LSS and LGSs do to get more people interested in trying FAB? I think that they're honestly doing a pretty good job right now. It's just kind of tough to break through the MTG space. A lot of stores have a lot of real estate already built in for specifically Magic the Gathering. They'll have, rows of boxes available, as well as most of the time their display cases will just be Magic cards. And getting them to sort of swap that out for a different game, especially kind of like what we were saying earlier when it comes to singles not being as appetizing of a thing to carry for a lot of LGSs, because at least for Magic the Gathering, you have a ton of $10 cards even from a most recent set. For Flesh and Blood, I'm pretty sure you could fit all of the actually chase cards or valuable cards in a single display case. I don't think there's that many overall. So getting them to sort of require that, and there just aren't a lot of them available. A lot of stores just won't have 10 copies of Command and Conquer at any given time, unless they're actively, people are selling out of the scene, or they're opening up a ton of their product that they could be selling otherwise. It's I think what they're doing in order to sort of level the playing field when it comes to value, like we said earlier, with there being fewer Majestics, so the average price of a Majestic goes up, I think is a good step in that direction, to not necessarily need just a critical mass of just the most expensive cards in order to have good offerings for singles. I think that's a good as well to sort of break through that real estate space. But in terms of actual events being held and getting people enticed to playing in those events, I think they're doing a pretty good job right now. They're very much highlighting sort of a flat prize structure and participation as well. And really it comes down to just how people feel included or welcomed into the scene, that I think is kind of going to be the best bet to have repeat business and repeat participation. So
we
I think
touched on it earlier as well, with regards to the casual events that they can do now to support these things. And I think the marketing of it, if you want to try and get someone into the game, is do the thing that, well, I speak for myself here, but it's all about the hero centric. Put a massive banner up saying, what hero do you want to be? You can choose from all these different heroes, one that speaks to you, because ultimately that is Flesh and Blood's the biggest strength, in my opinion, is the fact that it's a hero-driven game. So you can identify the hero, you can step into that hero's shoes straight away based on how they look or how they feel to you. So maybe the marketing of the store could, if they're trying to promote something, would be, what hero do you want to be, or something like that. That could be a good way to get people in. But also, it's also hard for LGSs to not alienate people by trying to put on other events. That's quite hard, isn't it? If you've got a big, massive Magic community, and then you're then saying, right, we're doing Flesh and Blood on this night now instead. That's also a dilemma that they have to face as well. So I can appreciate how hard it is to get people into it, but especially if you've got a massive Magic card market already.
My answer is just more casual events. And LSS is facilitating that now, as is mentioned. In particular, I think more starter deck events, where the buy-in is the price of the starter deck and the prizes are non-competitive. So it doesn't matter if you win or not, you still will get something, you'll still walk away with something. You want to have people not feel bad about the game. And getting dumpstered at a skirmish or whatever because you don't have an optimal deck might not feel great to a lot of people. So more casual friendly events, let more non-competitive pricing, or if they want to do competitive casual friendly, you could do, or budget friendly, I guess another way to put it would be commoner style events and that kind of stuff. events that have a low barrier of entry and don't make people feel bad. Like it's literally what I'm doing. I'm hosting a Grand Archive tournament this weekend, and like it is a non-competitive starter deck only event, where everyone will walk away with a prize pack, period. Like a special event prize pack and also a booster pack. If you go 0-3, you still get it. And then we also have random awards on top of that. And so the whole point of the event that I'm hosting is that I just want people to play the game and have fun with it. And if I was an LGS and I wanted to get people to play Flesh and Blood, I would do the same thing. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what I would do.
Second one kind of touched on in our explanations here. Do you think it works better to focus on people new to TCGs or veterans such as current MTG players? You kind of need a little bit of both, but you can't really try to target either with any sort of
try and convert them, can you? Just no,
because
losing battle.
Yeah. It can be tough, and like Kel had kind of said, alienating if people are like, okay, well, we want to get the enfranchised like TCG players, so we're just going to do competitive high-level events. It's like, okay, well, then that's really inaccessible to new people. And if it's like, okay, well, we're only going to do casual events, then that alienates the competitive people. So it's just about fostering an environment that's kind of like it's such a gimme answer, but like you kind of have to do the best of both worlds. But I think with these types of things, you can do that because you can have separate nights for a competitive night and a casual night. Obviously, that takes up floor space and whatever for an LGS to do that. Instead of them running another competitive event, they are instead running a casual event. You can't really have both. You could try to do both, but I feel like there would be some amount of separatism felt almost, because you see people, like especially you see competitive people going over to the casual people when they're done their games, and they're just like giving them unsolicited advice, and that can feel pretty bad. Obviously, that's down to the person, not really the game, but I've definitely seen that personally with other games. But I think that building out the casual space, Flesh and Blood already has a really good competitive space that has pulled a lot of competitive Magic the Gathering players already. So I think maybe developing the casual space is probably their best bet moving forward, at least personally.
That's the thing, because if people want to play competitively, they're probably already going to know where they can go to do that. So there's no point trying to start with that as a new thing in your store, right? Because they already know the people that want to grind XP or do all that sort of stuff. They already know where they can go to do that most of the time. So if you start with all the casual stuff, which obviously FAB are expanding, then you can bring in those players that are just like, oh, cool, what's that hero? I can play that hero, can I? Yeah, okay, well, I'll play this one, you play that one then. All right. And you pick up a starter deck, which there's bloody loads of them now, which can all be played in this pre-con battle format, which I think is great. So yeah, loads of good stuff to do. But that's definitely the best place to start, in my opinion, as well. Yeah.
So my specific answer to this question is based off of data that I have from my community, which is a decent chunk, and that is that I ran a poll a while ago, and most people who play Flesh and Blood, at least according to my community, and I don't remember how many thousand people answered, but at least a couple thousand people answered this. Most of them are new to card games, period. Most of them are not Magic people. There's a good chunk that are, but there's also a very surprising amount who this is their first card game. So take that into account when trying to whether you want to focus on TCG veterans or new people. I think just generally focusing on focusing on the qualities of the game rather than trying to cater to a specific demographic will probably do you better in the long run. A lot of veterans, outside of people who are upset at what Wizards of the Coast is currently doing, they're pretty enfranchised and entrenched. You'll have the people who play a lot of different card games, and those are going to play a lot of different card games anyway. You'll have the Magic diehards who will only ever play Magic ever for the rest of their life, and they don't care how trash the company is. And then you have the people who are disenfranchised who are flocking to other games. And those people are probably going to flock to the games either way. So as long as you're making a good case for the game, generally speaking, you will attract both of these audiences. You'll attract the people who are disenfranchised from like Magic the Gathering or just want a new game to play if they're coming in from a different card game. And then you'll also, better attract the people who don't really know about card games if you give them like a good, presentation of it. Like I said, like starter deck events and that kind of stuff. Very friendly towards new people, not just to Flesh and Blood, but to card games in general. I think that's how I would approach it. So, and then I think a lot of the people who are into like RPGs tend to like Flesh and Blood. If I had a LGS, I would probably sneakily put some Flesh and Blood stuff in the TT RPG section. I'd put like a some starter decks or something in the TTRPG section, just as a little thing. Yeah,
that's a good thing about it though, and that again, character-driven game. People can hop into it just because they like the look of something, and then there we are. We have a new player essentially. So yeah, it definitely has that strength to it. And
the third part, I guess, to this question, how do you feel about FAB products showing up in big box stores like Target? That's my answer. No, I don't like it. It goes against the core tenets of Flesh and Blood, and I really believe in those core tenets. And one of those is supporting the local game store and having product in the LGS. And the second you start going to Target, you're also saying that, hey, it's okay to also go to Amazon and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And once you breach this level, I think it's just a very slippery slope. And you could always be like devil's advocate. You can always be like, oh, maybe they're only doing Target or whatever. But I feel that it's like, if they did that, it would not be a good sign. I would be very disappointed. And
does it have any pros to it though? If you saw that in your Target,
more people will see it. It's like better, for mass market appeal. But like then again, I don't know if Flesh and Blood either can be a mass market like game or should be a mass market game, because like the game is like not easy, right? Like Flesh and Blood, out of all the card games that I've played, and I've played almost all of them, including many of the ones from the 90s, is like has a certain mental tax, because this is good. This is why a lot of people like Flesh and Blood. You are always engaged no matter what, because there's never a time, even on your opponent's turn, where you can just turn off your brain. You always have to think about how you're going to block, how you're going to play your next turn, and then on your turn you're going to be like, how do I sequence the turn, how do I play this? There's never a time where you're just like, cool, attack you, pass, and then you just kind of just chill until your opponent like does something. Like you can kind of do that with Flesh and Blood, but you should be thinking about what you're going to be doing like all the time. Arguably you should be doing that in other games too, but Flesh and Blood like really forces it on you.
Yeah, there's no like downtime really in Flesh and Blood. Like in Commander, I don't remember who I was initially chatting about this with. It might have been with you guys, honestly, but in Commander in Magic the Gathering, you can play your turn, and if you're completely tapped out and you have nothing in hand, it's pretty easy to just pull out your phone and start scrolling Twitter or Reddit or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then you just wait until it's your turn again. If you're taking damage, it's just a quick, okay, I'm going to take some damage, whatever. And then you untap, you draw your card, and then you start thinking about what you want to do. With Flesh and Blood, you do not have that time. That time does not happen. You need to always be on and reevaluating in order to effectively play the game. So it is a lot different in that aspect. But also, I think that's a bonus of Flesh and Blood in a way, because it means that people are more engaged. People are more present, and it can be more social as a result, especially when everybody's sort of on the same page about having a good time. Because I know a lot of people, myself included, that's my least favorite part of Commander, is that you're there to play games with friends and games start taking too long and people become disengaged. And that's just not as fun, because then you have to keep repeating what's happening and it can feel just like a slog. So yeah, I definitely don't. The only benefit to me, and this is a very selfish benefit for Flesh and Blood showing up in big box stores, is just more availability of product. That is like the only thing, and that's just because I love opening product. I don't think it's a net positive at all. It would just mean that potentially I could go to a place and buy, more things of Outsiders, except they usually sell out for popular stuff anyway. So I don't think it would be that much of a benefit to see that. I think it should be more of a local game store thing. I think that just ends up being better for everybody down the line.
Yeah.
And then finally, ending off on a question that we have kind of touched on as we've gone through this. It is a little bit different. It's different enough that I think we'll still have a good discussion around it. But what heroes do we currently have that you would like to see take on a talent, and what talents would those be? My answer is, again, pretty obvious.
Draconic Prism.
No, I think it would likely be
Shadow.
It would likely be Shadow Dash, or actually no, Shadow Data Doll specifically.
Okay.
I think Shadow Data Doll is awesome.
Okay. I think Shadow Data Doll with 2 intellect would actually be super interesting, because like the banishing could like expand your hand size like virtually. I think that could be cool actually.
Yeah, so I think specifically in terms of heroes, Shadow Data Doll would be my favorite, and be a hero that I play a lot of, because you're either banishing Blood Debt cards or Mechanologist items and then putting them into play. And
wow,
I think that's great either way. Although it would be really helpful as well to have Chain's ability to be able to just consistently give yourself more banishes at the beginning of your turn. Just turbo self-mill.
It's a hard question to answer for me because we don't know what the Pit's talent is yet. So I can't just say like Uzuri with Pit's talent because we don't actually know what that is. So of the available talents, I would love Lightning Assassin or Shadow Assassin. Shadow Assassin would be really cool, so you can play stuff from the Banish Zone and have more options. I really love like the toolboxy kind of feel of the class. And then Lightning Assassin also just sounds cool. I can imagine it being super cool, just in flavor. But then also like giving Go Again to my attacks is like, I would love that for either Arachne or Uzuri. Like, so
yeah,
like no joke. The what I'm thinking of making for like the D&D thing, the custom card, probably won't have the actual talent, but I think I want to give like some mechanic to give contract cards Go Again, because like without Go Again they're kind of just really lackluster. But like with Go Again, maybe they don't suck as much. So yeah, that's my answer.
Nice.
What about you, Az?
I reckon some form of like Shadow Illusionist would be quite cool. Just like literally just manifesting illusions that are literally just horrendous nightmares. Like, we've seen the Frightmare card.
We're such edgelords. All of us picked Shadow in some degree.
Yeah, it's got to be done.
That's funny.
But yeah, just pure manifesting, pure absolute horror would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, like Shadow Assassin just sounds like it should be a thing, right? Like that's what they are. Like they're in the shadows.
Yeah.
Like even
I mean, shadow in this game just means something different, though, doesn't it? It seems like extra dimensional rather than just shadow as in dark, like out of the light. Shadow in this game means like demonic sort of stuff going on.
Yeah, well, it specifically I think means like you're drawing powers from Irathiel or whatever.
Yeah. Well, isn't shadow capitalized in the flavor text most often, like shadows or something? I
think they capitalize all of the talents. Maybe I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, but
like elemental might also be capital. I don't know. I'll have to go check.
Yeah,
but either way, because like elemental,
all edgelords.
Because elemental they draw power from oh crap, what is it called? Is it called the Aurora? They draw power from the sky magic. It's not from the sky. It's it's the magic that's
the flow from the flow.
Oh, the flow. Yeah, the flow.
Yeah.
they draw
the
power.
magic that's flowing through the flow. That's it.
Yeah. So anyway.
Cool. Well, that's all the questions, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
Fantastic.
And well, thank
We've,
you for joining us.
Yeah, this was a lot of really great discussion. I mean, obviously, as always, but it's always fun to be able to hear from the community and, just get jumping off points for cool discussions like the ones that we had today.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you to everybody who submitted a question. We really, really appreciate it, and we appreciate your continued support.
Yeah, and like
Absolutely.
as said at the top of the show, don't forget that we now have that email where you can submit regular questions. If you just come up with one randomly and you'd like to do it, you can email that email, and we might answer it as just a little part of any upcoming episode. So
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the Living Legends podcast, all one word, at gmail.com. So yeah, just forward on any questions that you might have, or any concerns, or any sort of stories that you have. Email them into us, and obviously we can get to them as and when we do new episodes, which will be quite cool. Yeah.
I guess the final thing I want to ask the audience here is something that we've talked about a lot. We've kind of just toyed around with it, but genuinely, for the people listening to this, especially if you've listened, the 2 hours in so far. How would you feel about a Living Legends Patreon? If you would like to support what we do, it would be completely separate from any of our individual Patreons. It wouldn't be mine or Az's or even like Spike Feeders or anything like that. It would be specifically for the Living Legends, and specifically to support what we do. And the way we would use the money and support from that is to, everything from helping us get to Worlds, to commissioning art, to maybe even buying better mics or something. Anything that will go towards the podcast. So let us know what you would think. We've thought about it. We've thought about benefits for it too. Like maybe we'll release some random crap. Like sometimes we like ramble afterwards, and maybe we'll release that.
Let me just make sure. So I think I might have a piece of random crap that we can put behind that, to start off with.
Which one is it?
I think it was discussion with Kale. Yeah, I've got it on here. Yeah.
Keep in mind though that kind of stuff will have probably a lot more swearing in it, because I swear like a pirate outside of like content.
Exactly.
So
what? All the more better reason to subscribe to us on that platform if we make it. But yeah, and also we can do the command zone thing as well, where we can shout out one lucky patron every single episode. We can shout someone out, and that could be also quite cool as well. But yeah, just ideas at this point, as is the email address that we've made, the Living Legends Podcast at gmail.com, for people to submit their questions. It could be another thing that people use or might not use, but just let us know. But yeah, it's all positive. It's all good.
Yeah, because currently the videos are monetized just because they are on my channel, which is monetized, but the podcast versions are not monetized, and that was like a conscious choice that we just kind of made when I did it. I was just like, no, I will not put the ads on. So if you would like us to do that, and let us know.
Yeah, or similar to that. If there's anyone listening that wants to sponsor the podcast, then we'll be open to that as well. And again, Living Legends Podcast at gmail.com.
Hey, I was gonna say,
inquiries.
If you just want to, I imagine we'll do the same thing that that I do for sponsors. I don't just take anyone's money. I got to make sure they fit. But if you are a cool LGS or something, and you're like, you sell flesh and blood, I don't know, maybe hit us up. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just to cut people off at the pass, not interested in getting sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. I'm just going to put that out there.
So I heard they pay a lot of money. I've talked.
We're already not getting paid. I don't care.
I've talked to some content creator friends about Raid Shadow Legends who have not done Raid Shadow Legends, who have gotten lots of offers, and they told me that they keep giving them numbers that are so high that they don't say yes, and they're like, someday they're gonna say yes, and maybe I'll just end up doing a Raid Shadow Legends when they pay me like $50,000 to do it or something.
Why though? Why do they need?
No joke. A lot of it's in thousands of dollars range is how much these people are getting paid.
It's just because Raid makes so much money that they're able to continue their easy sort of advertising like chokehold that they have over a lot of people just by continuing to pump money into it. Like they make so much in microtransactions that it basically doesn't matter.
Has anybody played Raid?
Jerry from the Spike Feeders plays Raid Shadow Legends like very consistently and has for a few years.
There's like
he's the only person.
Like I don't blame any content creator for doing a Raid spot. Whenever I see a Raid spot, I'm just like, good for you. You probably got a nice paycheck.
Yeah.
Because I know Raid, like I know they pay thousands of dollars for those ads. So it's not like chump change. They're not getting paid like $100 or something. It's like, rent money. And I'm just like, yeah, dude, do it. Like, you got to pay the rent. Just do it. Like, if I'm watching the video, I'll just skip it. Like, one of my favorite content creators is also, I watch a lot of random content creators who are Canadian, actually. But I watch a content creator called Riker because I'm a big fan of Diablo, and he does a lot of Diablo stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he has, like, sometimes Raid Shadow Legends. And I'm like, you know what? Good for you, man. I'm going to skip it. I'm not going to watch this shit. But you know what? Good for you. And so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I do that with a lot of sponsors, by the way. I'm sorry, content creator friends who have like sponsors. If you're sponsored by Audible or whatever, I just skip it every time. I do not have ad block or anything, but I am skipping your 5-minute talk on, selling me hair product or whatever.
But I need it. I want it in my life.
No, they got paid anyway. So it's just like, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got their payday. Yeah. Anyway, I think that will just about do it for us today. And by us, of course, as always, I am Bill from the Spike Feeders and have been for the last year and will continue to be. You can find me on Twitter at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders FAB. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we have more Goliath Gauntlet gameplay content coming out soon. A lot of them are really good games. I would say most of them, a large percentage of them, are just straight up good games. So you should definitely go check those out if you enjoy live edited gameplay content. And shipping it over alphabetically to Az. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm Az from Goarin Gaming. A lot of my content as of recently has just been these like weird, thought-provoking things, which is what I started off doing, to be fair. So I'm going to continue doing it. Yeah, loads of content coming out. Ultimate Pit Fight episodes. I'm editing the last one. Should be out in probably the next few weeks or so. That involves Kel, Romain, and Leo. So it's quite a global one.
It'll be interesting to watch because we recorded this thing like a long time ago, and I remember being a heel. So that's gonna be fun.
That's right.
To watch back.
Yeah. You were doing some good stuff in that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's so good. Hey, you gotta when you're playing like Arachne and by the way, I'm playing Arachne. If you're playing Arachne in Ultimate Pit Fight, you gotta manipulate. You gotta
grind. Yeah.
So
that's it.
I do that.
That's good ones.
I do some manipulation. It's fun.
It is a fun one, yeah. So look out for that. And yeah, also I'm Bill Stars on some stuff as well. The Azalea Ringer every now and again. So you can see Bill on there as well. So like to get all the Living Legends podcast crew involved in different things that I do on Goarin Gaming when I can. But yeah, that's it really. So I'll throw it over to Kel.
Hello, I'm Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue. Don't forget to enter the giveaway by commenting. Oh crap! I forgot what it was. Something like your class that you're looking forward to, or dual class, or something like that. Yeah. As long as the comment is something resembling that, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
And you can find me everywhere at Red Zone Rogue, YouTube.com/Red Zone Rogue, Twitter.com/Red Zone Rogue. Twitter is actually fairly important because I will likely have you email or message me your mailing address on Twitter, or maybe Facebook or whatever. But Twitter is usually easiest for me. So, nice. Yeah, and I talk about Flesh and Blood. Talk a lot about my second favorite game more often, Grand Archive, but still a lot of Flesh and Blood. So,
yeah. Anyway,
nice.
Once again, thank you everyone for hanging out with us and for sticking with us and your support throughout this last year. Hopefully, we'll have another annual celebration. I don't think that we're going to be stopping anytime soon. So please stick with us.
Maybe for the 2-year, we'll all get drinks and get completely wasted.
Hell yeah!
Live on the stream, baby.
But
for those of you who are still now, things to look forward to for the next year. We do have a lot of Flesh and Blood guests lined up. We have some other big guests as well who have confirmed that they will be on here at some point. So you can look forward to everyone from the Professor to Sam Yang to maybe even some other folks from the Flesh and Blood space. Maybe even James White if he'll ever message me back. So
he's just a busy guy.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you, everyone, and thank you both for joining me once again for a lovely set of discussions. And stay well, stay safe. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Living Legends Podcast at gmail.com. Cheers.
John!
Jason!
Jason!
We're just going to get loads of those in the mailbox, aren't we?
Yeah, probably.
I sure hope so.
John! Yeah.